Next.
Hello, I'm
Hi.
Ron Westlake.
Oh, well, there you go.
All right.
Great. Great. Do you have any questions?
Nope.
All right. Well, let's see what you have. Go ahead and hit your mark, and whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Look, everybody, it's Spaceman Spiff, here to save the day.
Okay, good. That was great. Love it. We're going to add some more to it, though, if that's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. Let's have you like you're in a big vat of super glue. Let's see what that looks like.
All right. Whoa, it's Spaceman Spiff, here to save the day.
Okay, layering on, layering on. We're going to add, just so you're in the glue, right? You're in that space, and then bring a little bit more of a blue to it for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Look, it's Spaceman Spiff, here to save the day. Woohoo! Look, everybody.
Okay, one more layer on there, just like Looney Tunes. Go.
Look, everybody, it's Spaceman Spiff.
Okay, great. Great. Tell me your name again.
Rowan Westlake.
Rowan, there you go. Okay, great, Rowan. We will call you.
All right.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure. Ooh, interesting.
My name is Rowan Westlake, and I'm your host of CinemaWorks Late Night. My guest tonight is Mindy Raymond, who is the president of New Republic Studios. She's also an amazing actress who has been in the entertainment business since 2001. Thank you so much for joining me today, and
Thank you.
let's jump right in.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
How did you get started in the film industry?
Well, I went to University of Texas and did some student films there. Well, actually, if we go way back, right? I could go way back.
Yeah.
My dad owned a pizza restaurant growing up in Nebraska.
Okay.
And he put me in my first commercial. I was about 7 years old, and my tagline was a thumbs up and says, and another reason I like Saks Pizza is because my dad owns the place.
Hey.
And I did those commercials for a few years, and that was like around town. That's what I got known as, like the pizza girl.
Okay.
So that was really my start, I guess.
Awesome. That's super cool. Your dad
Yeah.
helping you out with your career.
Help me out with this.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just student films here and there. And then it wasn't really until, like you said, kind of 2001, after graduating, being in Dallas, I got my first agent and started from there.
Yeah.
Just started pounding the pavement.
Yeah. So being from Texas, like me, what limitations did you encounter, and what opportunities did you find?
Great way to structure that question, because there's definitely both, I think. A little bit of limitations, but a lot of opportunities.
Right.
So for me in Dallas, when I was starting off, it was a little bit of a smaller market than if you were to go to New York or LA. So I was able to book a lot of auditions right away, get a SAG card pretty quickly, which then enabled me to open up some opportunities, you know, in those bigger markets on the coast. So I think limitation-wise, it was just, you know, in limited thinking, saying, oh, I need to go to these other markets to, you know, pursue my career.
Right.
And now, looking back, I'm glad that I went to those other markets. I went to an acting school in New York, which was great opportunities. But then circling back to Texas, years later, I ended up working more in Texas than I did in the other bigger markets. So
you feel like when you were starting out, it was like your limited thinking that made you think you had to go to New York City. Is that what made you move to New York City instead of like what made you go to New York City instead of moving to LA?
I had an acting teacher here in Austin that said, you know, if you want to take this professionally, you really need to study in New York.
Okay.
So I applied to some different schools in New York and got into a conservatory there. And
yeah, the Michael Howard Conservatory.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what learning experience impacted you the most there?
Yeah, it was a very unique experience in that Michael Howard believed in like a toolbox of acting. You know, it wasn't one way like a Meisner or you know, Strasberg technique. It was very much like, we're going to give you a bunch of tools and whatever works best for you in your career. And even in different jobs, you know, you'll have those tools readily available. So it was a 1-year intensive acting conservatory. Every day, all day. There was 12 of us from all over, you know, in all different walks of life. And so it was great for me literally to take a deep dive into living in the city, going to school there, and really just honing in on my craft.
Okay, and what other, like, were there any gigs you booked while you were in New York City, or any projects you worked on?
Yeah, there was a lot. I mean, there was a ton of TV shows that were going on out there, so I was working on those shows pretty often. You know, varying from kind of small just background roles to like featured, and then we had an improv troupe that we started. And so we traveled kind of all throughout the city at different venues. We ended up performing at Caroline's on Broadway a couple times.
Oh, wow.
So that was really cool. We had, you know, 250 people in the audience, and we literally came on right after Oprah. So she had like a whole private event there, and then they cleared out the entire space, and they're like, okay, Stilted on stage. You guys can like take the, you know, take the dressing rooms. We're like, oh, Oprah was just here. Like, let's like suck in her juju, you know? So. It was a cool experience.
Okay, and then you went to Seattle to work for the Seattle Film Festival.
I went to LA, and I kind of bounced between New York and LA for a couple years.
Okay.
And then got hired at the Seattle Film Festival.
Okay. Can you walk us through what it was like to work for the Seattle Film Festival?
It was a marathon. You know, it's a 21-day film festival, so it's a long time. And there are very heavy cinema fanatics up in Seattle. So you can imagine with the weather, everyone just goes inside and watches movies all the time. So so it's a very supported festival, and we had some great experiences there, some, you know, big premieres that came through, and it was definitely an experience of a lifetime. And to kind of see behind the scenes of how festivals work and all the programming that goes into it, major props to festivals, because there's a lot of work that happens. So
for sure.
I was there from April, and the festival was in July. So we kind of had, you know, the pre-festival experiences, and then the festival ending in July. So yeah.
And then after Seattle, did you come back to Texas after that?
I went back to New York for a little bit. I had an agent out there, so I was doing a lot of voiceover work. So I moved back out to New York and stayed there for a few months before coming back down to Austin. So,
right. And then you were volunteered at the Austin Conservatory Board for 2 years?
I did. I came back and got an agent right away. So this is a story for perseverance to those who are listening. I went back to Texas. I had an agent who was in Dallas, who was my original agent, Kim Dawson, and they were great and amazing. But I was like, I'm in Austin now. Like, I need to get an Austin agent. And so she's like, go. Actors Clearinghouse is one of the best ones, so just, you know, kind of go with them if you can. So I emailed them. I ended up calling them, I think, every like other day for probably 6 weeks. Did not hear anything. I'm like emailing, did not hear anything. I was like, what is going on? Like, I've got a resume. I've been, you know, kind of in these different markets. I'd met with other agents and they were fine, but I just had a feeling. I was like, I need to be with Actors Clearinghouse. So finally, he ends up picking up the phone, like literally on my 25th call. And he was like, well, I must give you, you are persevering in this. You know, you definitely have that like chutzpah to like call us so many times. And I said, well, I want a meeting, and let's see how it goes. And so it's been a great relationship for the last 10 years. And I was glad that I like stuck with it and just knew like that's who I wanted to be with, you know?
Sure.
And a lot of times as actors, right, you kind of send in one headshot and you're like, oh, well, I guess they didn't call me back. So, oh, well. But you have to like think of how many headshots they get, how many, you know, people are emailing them and all that stuff. Like, you have to just stay on top of it and just be like, I'm going to do this regardless, and I would love for you to, you know, represent me. So it was
well, that's awesome.
I know. I always joke about it now. I know Mike's like, man, you were like the one who like kept pushing for it. So.
Right. And then you were hired as first executive director of the Texas Motion Picture Alliance. Yeah, so I was with the Austin Actors Conservatory, right? That was a group here that's still in existence, and they do events and everything. And a lot of the events that we did for the conservatory went to benefit what's called the Texas Motion Picture Alliance. And so I had met folks both at TXMPA while I was a volunteer at the conservatory. And so after my time ran up for the conservatory, being on the board, I ended up being asked to be on the board for TXMPA. And I was on the board for about,
8 months, I guess, and it had always been an all-volunteer board, but the board has a lot of very folks that are very heavily invested in the industry, I should say. So it's like the VP of Panavision, it's a SAG-AFTRA rep, it's the president of IATSE. So you can imagine like their schedules are already packed.
Right.
And then it's like throw this additional organization on there to try and get stuff done. Like it was really hard, it was falling through the cracks a lot. So they realized the benefit of having somebody kind of at the helm, and they hired me as their executive director.
Okay.
So.
And then was there like one memory or learning experience that stuck out to you the most while working there?
At TXMPA?
Right.
Oh my gosh, there's tons. Like it was a whole, because I was the first one to do it. So there was no like, you know, predecessor being like, here's how we do this, you know, protocol. Like it was all just me kind of figuring out like, okay, here's where we are with this and that. And we're a nonprofit organization. So that's a whole other thing with just obviously with, you know, fundraising and getting those contributions in. And then we're working on the legislative level and figuring out like what's our messaging, getting, you know, the members involved. Like it was a constant learning curve.
Right.
But it was amazing. I mean, we do all the advocacy group across the state for the Film Incentive Program. And TXMPA came about to create an actual incentive program. So the only way that Texas has an incentive program is through TXMPA and those stakeholders who 10 years ago said, we need to be competitive with Louisiana and New Mexico. Well, more Louisiana at the time. And so they created that organization, created the incentive program that we have now. And so it's just us now as good kind of stewards of this organization to make sure that we have a good one in place and legislators know about it and it's supported.
Right. Yeah, well thanks for getting that started.
Yeah, not me personally, but yes, thank you to the TXMPA folks.
Yeah.
And I hope, later on carry the water for it. So, yeah.
And now you're president at Newer Public Studios, a new facility and studio like right outside of Austin where y'all film commercials, TV shows. Can you tell us a little bit about the studio space and what's the grand vision for it?
Sure. So it was started as Spiderwood Studios some years ago. Tommy Warren's the original one who built it and kind of saw the, the vision initially. And since then, John Robison purchased it a few years ago. I guess we're going on 2.5 years now. And John was able to kind of take Tommy's vision and even expand beyond that and say, here's what Texas really needs. And with my work at TXMPA and what I was doing to bring more work to Texas, it was a natural fit for me to come over to the studios and help do development and marketing and say, we've got something bigger that we're going to be working on here, And so we've got some stages there obviously now. We've got a great website. You can check out all the different stages that we have, but really the big vision is bringing, the educational facilities out there, helping students come out there and have a professional space that they can work in, and then building the bigger stages. So one thing in my travels and with TXMPA, Texas is great for locations. I mean, we're the biggest state, in the United States, so there's a gajillion locations that you can have, but when it comes to infrastructure, we're really lacking. And I've always been like, it's really sad when, again, Louisiana and New Mexico have better stages than we do.
Yeah.
Like, how is that? We're Texas,
Like
we need to be
we're
bigger and better.
Yeah.
So we're working on that now, and it's very exciting because Austin Studios, they're expanding, ATX Studios is expanding. So we've all sort of are coming together knowing like the industry is gonna move here. We're seeing a lot of development in that regard in the way that media is being produced now, and just it's a very exciting time, I think, for all of us who are in the content making business.
Right.
To see Texas is like, it's gonna go.
Well, I'm excited. I've been there, and it's really awesome to see how y'all are growing and letting like students come in and learn too. And y'all's events are really fun. So
great, yeah. Make sure, for those listening, we have a great newsletter just to kind of update folks on what we're doing and
for sure
the events that we have, the open houses, and we always want people to come out and see the facilities, because I think, like once you're out there and you can sort of see it and be like, oh wow, like you've got,
you don't have to go to
this
LA or
back
New York.
lot, and like just for you as a creator, like what can you create out there with the film cabin or the river or the stages, and so there's a lot to offer.
Yeah. So what is it like day to day as president of Newer Public Studios besides the production rentals in the space? Are y'all financing and developing your own projects to be filmed there? And can you talk about any specifically in the works?
Yeah, I mean, our main thing right now is our first kind of phase one of an expansion that we're doing with the school that's coming out there. So they're building a big facility.
The Art Institute?
Mm-hmm. Yep, the Art Institute of Austin is moving from Austin to come out to Lost Pines area. So there'll be 3 campuses, 2 in Bastrop and then 1 at our studios. So that's really kind of my main focus is, those meetings with the architects and designers and all that fun stuff.
Right.
But looking, setting our sights on definitely that next expansion, a bigger stage, more office space, because as Austin gets more popular to move into and companies coming in, it's harder to find that short-term production space. So we're looking at helping to kind of make sure that there's offices that folks can rent. It's not Austin prices necessarily.
Right, yeah,
it's not astronomical. So just, all that expansion plan, and then just, of course, getting the word out there of like what we are doing and what we're looking to do in the future, and making sure that those collaborations are happening with the other studios and the other, content creators here.
Okay. And in your opinion, what does it take to run a facility in Texas when tax incentives are okay and there's so many other competitors in other states?
What we have sort of started to say, and I still work with TXMPA and I'm very heavily involved in that process, but we are saying, and what we're doing, I think in Texas is, we are our own incentives. And so what that means is even though, yes, you could go to Atlanta and get a 30% back, but now the markup there is so high, crews are just tapped out, they're so saturated. So what are you really getting back? Whereas in Texas, the cost of doing business here is unbelievable. Cost of gas and lumber and your accommodations and the availability of locations, and how people in these towns, especially small towns around Texas, are eager to get those production dollars into their community. And so they're very much willing to say, you're an independent filmmaker, come shoot here and we'll give you X back on what you spend in our town. Or let's work out a deal where, you're gonna save money on those hotels.
Right.
And so just really getting a little bit more creative with how we are helping kind of, for lack of a better word, finance a lot of these projects, but really giving people like, okay, here's your budget, and like we will help you on all of those line items that need help with, so that we can start to compete more with those other states.
For sure.
And people are friendly here.
Yeah.
People love Texas.
That's true, yeah.
And they love the cruise, and it's like they want to be here. The weather's amazing.
We don't want to have to move away.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're starting to see a little bit of that shift. Getting, a little bit more of an incentive money helps, but also I think we had this huge pendulum swing on the incentives, right? Where like all of a sudden every state had an incentive program, and it's still these traveling circuses going from here. But we see politically, if a state does something that they might not agree with, our industry agrees with, they're like, we're pulling out, we're gonna go elsewhere. So it's a little bit of a fickle way to do business. So we're looking at what can we do that's sustainable, that's gonna cause longevity in our industry, where it's not gonna be these traveling circus groups from one state to the next, but really people are planting their roots here, they're doing the infrastructure, they're making sure that just the doing of business is better here in Texas. And we do that great outside of our industry. Tech companies are coming here now, like no state income tax is a huge thing. So all these companies are coming to Texas, and it's like our industry is gonna follow. It already has. I mean, there's a lot of companies here, but.
So you feel like the film industry in Texas is going in a good direction?
I do. I feel the content industry is going in a good direction.
Right.
Films happen and they'll always happen, but we've obviously seen a dip as far as like with streaming services and all the TV shows now, and just every company's making some sort of media, right? And so it's not necessarily like seeing a film on the theater screen is kind of the end all be all anymore. You can have Yeti do a short film and you're like, that's killer, amazing content that's created here in Texas. And so as content created becomes bigger and bigger and every company's doing it, like Texas is definitely ripe to bring in that kind of business. It's not necessarily like the film industry, We'll let Atlanta have the Marvels and all that stuff, and we'll focus on what we do well, which is creating content, with the media companies being here and all of that. So.
Well, with trying to work in all these different fields, like you're an actress, president of a studio, mom, wife, and all of the responsibilities of life, how do you prioritize things?
It's a great question. Every day is kind of different.
Yeah.
I get up early and I work out. That's like my main thing that I have to do every day just to get my head on straight.
For sure.
And that does help me kind of then prioritize, I feel like, the rest of the day and what needs to be done. fortunately, I've got a great team at the studios, so I've been able to kind of step back and not be as much hands-on as I have been in the beginning phases, because we've got such a stellar staff out there that's really helping to run the show. And then, you know, I'm always in different meetings, kind of wearing different hats and figuring out, of course, family takes precedence, and I've got an amazing husband that's super supportive and gets this crazy industry. So it's just, you know, every day is a little different and ebbs and flows, and I think a lot of us who are in the creative industries, that's just, we kind of sign up for this. You know, we sign up for the crazy, I'm going to be up at 5 a.m. working on a set until 5 p.m. and then going to edit my passion project from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. and I'll do it all over again, because that's what we do. We're not in a cubicle from 9 to 5, like punching the clock, you know.
For sure.
So it's good. We have those creative brains that can, I don't know, I feel like we kind of feed on the chaos.
So it's been said that Reese Witherspoon is your hero. Why is that?
She does everything. She's like, I mean, she does everything, and I think she does it so like gracefully and appreciatively, and she's just such a vibrant person that has this like magnetic personality that people want to be her friend, you know. And I think even though I've never met her, and I'm like, I feel like I'm her friend from afar, because I'm like, she does everything so well, and she, you know, obviously multitasks with the family and the husband, and you know, having a production company and being in front of the camera as well. And there's just something about her that's very endearing, I think, and not jaded, you know. And she still loves the industry, and so yeah, she's definitely somebody. So Reese, if you're out there, I am ready to be your best friend.
So what do you have, like, in addition, any mentors that guide you and inspire you in your career currently? Like actual like one-on-one mentors, like that I meet with, like not famous people like Reese Witherspoon.
Right.
Like, well, just like mentors that guide you on a daily basis.
Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be where I'm at if it was not for mentors and folks that have really just, you know, I am not shy about asking people for insight and ideas, and you know, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? Like, I'm constantly meeting with people in different realms to kind of bounce ideas off of. And those who've been in the industry for a long time, and those who are in a completely different industry and maybe not, you know, can see things kind of differently than where I'm at with like a tunnel vision sometimes. So yeah, I think it's super important. And just people, what I've found to be true is that people really want to help, you know? Like, you always feel like, oh, I'm putting them out, or I'm, you know, doing like not a disservice, but I don't want to ask because I don't want to bug them or something. But people are so excited to share information and be like, here,
just gotta ask them.
Yeah, totally. So, and if you come like in a very nice way and are appreciative of their time, like, you know, people are willing to help out. So
well, we really appreciate your time.
Of course.
Do you have? Could you share any advice with students here at ACC who are aspiring filmmakers or storytellers or producers?
I think you just got to stick with it. It's not an easy industry. I'm sure a lot of people probably say this, right? And like everyone you hear who's a little bit maybe further down in their career, it's like you just sort of see these steps laid out in front of you, and you're like, looking back, I journal a lot, and so I know back in my 20s when I was journaling, like I would have never imagined that my life would have taken the path that it did. But I'm so grateful that it has, and I'm like, but then kind of looking back, I can see those stepping stones, you know, that have led me to where I am today. And it's one of those things of just, you know, staying with it. I mean, when I was in my conservatory, you know, there's 12 of us, and Michael Howard was like, 2 of you are going to stay in this industry, and the rest will find something else, and that's okay. You know, it's not for everybody. And that's kind of been true. There's me and one other person that are still like, you know, we're still in the industry. Like, we're holding on tight. And I feel, for me, a lot of it too, kind of letting go of that preconceived notion of like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and if it doesn't happen by this date, then, you know, forget it. Like, kind of releasing that expectation on yourself, and just being like, I love this industry. I'll do it no matter what. I'll work, you know, as a PA, or I'll work as, you know, in a casting office, or whatever you can do to kind of stay in it. Like, just stay in it, and you have to wear many hats. So,
Well, thank you so much.
That's a long advice.
No, I definitely, too, about the journaling, just documenting what you do at the beginning of your career. You can see how much you've grown, and that's something I felt like inspired to do just to keep track of it all, because you
should.
don't want to forget. You know?
No, it's great, and just kind of what your priorities are too now versus like when you look back.
Right, you can see
wow,
like how you prioritize things differently.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, but it's a great industry. I love it. I feel like in Texas, it's very collaborative. Kids coming out of school or young adults coming out of school, like they can find those folks that want to help them and mentor them and get them, you know, work and staying in Texas. A lot of us are really like focused on staying here in the States, so
yeah,
we'll make it happen. But we need the young ones to come up and
for sure
help out.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and
yeah,
glad you were able to make it out. So
me too. Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of CinemaWorks Late Night with New Republic Studios' Mindy Raymond. I'm Rowan Westlick. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to tune in next time.